Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you from around the world who have joined the webinar. We appreciate your attendance and your time. My name is Wojtek Borel, and I'm account executive at Kentico Draft. And today, together with my colleague Branyo, product designer at Kentico Draft, we will show you around our cloud service. Just a quick check first. Please raise a hand through GoToWebinar if you can hear me. You can do it by clicking on hand icon located at the GoToWebinar control panel. Thanks. Okay, thank you guys. So before we get to the agenda, I have a few organizational information to share. This webinar is being recorded and the recording will be published in the partner portal within a week, and I will also send you a link to this recording. If this is your first time using GoToWebinar, everyone is in the listen-only mode to avoid any background noise. There is a Q&A window at GoToWebinar control panel where you can ask questions that you may have during our session. We will have something like 15 minutes at the end of the webinar to address all these questions. If we can't make it on time, we'll answer these questions via email later. So let me start with our agenda. As for today, we'll be talking about the web content production process and how to optimize it. In the first part of the webinar, I will take you through the most frequent content production issues and tell you how Kentico Draft solves them. In the second part, I will hand it over to Branyo, who's gonna show you Kentico Draft in action. You will learn how you can easily set up your drafts environment and invite other members of the team on board. And as I've already mentioned, we'll finish the webinar with a Q&A session where we will be more than happy to answer any questions you have, so don't hesitate to put them into the contact window. So now let me start with outlining some content production issues. Every company wants to run a smooth operation, and we all know the pains and costs once web design projects take longer than originally expected. It's a challenge to stick to web design project schedules as they can get delayed for so many reasons. But the most frequent issue that breaks project schedules is delayed content delivery. There are several factors that cause content to be delivered late. The obvious one is bad timing when content production starts later in the project, usually after the CMS has been configured. Unfortunately, this almost always results in missed deadlines. But when we start producing content sooner, which means way before the CMS is set up, or even before HTML templates have been designed, we can buy ourselves more time for content production. And when we get more time to produce content, we still need to be aware of the issues that are inflating the content production timeline itself. For example, when you are using documents and spreadsheets to produce your content, you could end up with a mess of files stored in multiple locations, multiple formats, and multiple versions. It takes extra time to collect all the content. And needless to say, that with all those files all over the place, it's impossible to tell who is currently working on what and when it's supposed to be done. You can only guess whether everything will be delivered on time or not. On top of that, when you manage to get content done with docs, there is still the extra work of copying and pasting it from the docs into the CMS. Well, everyone has their own pace, right? But we have found out that it takes about 30 minutes on average to copy and paste content from docs into a CMS. When you multiply the number by a typical 80 pages per website, you can add a week onto your timeline. Well, by realizing how all these problems could be eliminated, we decided to build Kentico Draft. So Kentico Draft provides you with a single space for web content production where everyone on your team can deliver content that is neatly structured, it's aligned with your content strategy, it can be reviewed by all relevant parties and delivered on time. By preventing project delays, Draft helps agencies optimize project timelines to take on more projects at the same time. And it also gives managers an overview of the content production process and clarifies the content delivery schedules for everyone involved. And when you use Kentico, you can even automatically import the content into the CMS later on, which is a huge benefit, and Branyo will show you in a couple of minutes. So that was it for a quick introduction to content production issues. So now I will hand it over to Branyo, who will finally show you how you can use Draft to get content on time. So Branyo, go ahead.
Thank you, Wojtek, for a brief introduction, and now let's take a look at how Draft works. I'm going to show you how you can prepare a content inventory, invite everyone on the team to contribute to it, and see the progress of the work from the very early stages of the project. We'll create some content and then import it automatically to Kentico. So I will demonstrate the benefits of Kentico Draft to you with the help of our Dancing Go demo website. It's a site offering coffee and accessories. And let's say a client requested an agency to redesign this website, and this is the result of the project. So apart from many other things to be done, new content has to be delivered for this site as well. And let's say you use Kentico Draft to manage that process. So from all the content that has to be done for this project, we'll take this article and go step by step to show you how such an article is produced. At the early stage of the web design project, you and your client or team may agree upon a content strategy and the information architecture, and you define the requirements for the new content to be produced. In the case of this article, you have agreed upon its structure, such as that each article will be composed of a title, date and time, teaser image, and body copy. Or you have agreed upon some additional content requirements like voice and tone guidelines or content limitation. And basically all these instructions are aimed at helping contributors producing more engaging content. So the first thing we do is that we capture all this information by creating a content type in Kentico Draft. So we are now in Kentico Draft, and this is the list of different content types that are used in our project. We use them to outline the structure and instructions for all of our content. So I will select the article content type and show you its structure. When you are creating a content type in general, you are composing it of a smaller content elements such as rich text or date and time. To match the content structure and guidelines you have already settled on with your client. So in the case of our article, we have used special guidelines elements to include instructions that are relevant to all articles. Further, we have picked text element for our title, asset element for our teaser image, date and time for our post date, and rich text for body copy. And as you can see, we have included additional guidelines for each content element so that authors have clear instructions at hand before they write a line. So working with a content structure is really easy. You can add a new element just by dragging it and dropping it. You can rearrange elements or delete them. Defining the content types was the first step towards creating your content inventory. The next one is to provide authors with the means of content categorization to make it easier for them to find the content they should be working on. So that's why you can define a sitemap in Kentico Draft. And let me show you how you can do that. So I'm going to switch to a sitemap, and here is the sitemap we have already made for Dancing Go. It basically copies the structure of your sitemap on the web. In Kentico Draft, it's useful for categorizing and filtering the content, and it's really easy to manipulate and create new items in it. Let me show you by creating a new sitemap item that I just created, rosters, and I can just easily rearrange it where it belongs. So now when the project environment is almost set, we'll set up a workflow that matches our process. So let me now switch to a workflow configuration. And you can customize workflow to fit in your content production process. For example, you may have your SEO specialist check content before it gets approved. So let's create a new SEO verified step and move it where we want it to happen, just right after ready for review. Optionally, I can set its color to yellow. So when you have set up a workflow, it will help you see the progress of the work of each content item. And well, that's it for a quick setup of Kentico Draft Space. Now it's time to invite some people. After you invite contributors on your team, you'll be able to assign content tasks to them. And well, that's exactly what we are going to do next. So Let's now switch to our content inventory. This is the whole content inventory that your team is working on. You can see the progress of each content item and when it's due. You can refine items that you see by filtering them by their name or their attributes. Like, for example, you can only see items that are under a certain workflow status or items that have a specific contributor assigned to them, or perhaps an items that are located in a special specific position in a sitemap I just showed you a while ago. So now let's create a new empty article and then assign it to a colleague who will contribute to it later on. So I'll create a new article, and you can see here that this article has a structure like we have defined before, with all the guidelines and instructions included. So to assign this article to someone, I'll fill in its name. Then I'll select its location in a sitemap so contributors can find it there. And then I'll update the workflow status and assign a colleague on a task. I can further provide him with some additional instructions for the specific article, and finally I can set the due date so that everyone on the task is notified when the deadline is approaching. And then I'll just update the workflow. And now when the contributors come to work on this content, they will see the same intuitive interface. The authoring experience is designed to be similar to other tools that authors are used to working with. So for example, our rich text editor offers essential editing and formatting features, as well showing you the amount of characters that have been written. But one thing that the editor does extra compared to the others is that it removes all unnecessary styles from copied and paste text and leaves the markup clean, which makes it usable in various publishing systems and CMSs later on. So as I've mentioned earlier, one of the benefits of Kentico Draft is that the whole content production can happen in a single location. So let me show you how the whole team can collaborate on getting content ready on time. For example, you can discuss each content piece individually. Like just like that, I can leave some comment. I can leave comments the same way for the assets as well. And if you wish to have comments per the whole content item, you can do it as well over here. And so when the discussion is over, you can just resolve it. So besides having in-place conversations, we have included features that help you review other people's work. So all the content changes are saved automatically, and thus we are providing the content revisions. Where you can see a trail of updates for each content item. And while it gives you a complete overview of who has updated what and when, just as Wojta said earlier. So you can go through each revision and see how content item looked at a particular point in time. And now you don't need to worry about cases when content gets overwritten accidentally by a contributor, as you can always restore any of the previous revisions. So therefore, with Kentico Draft, you can keep the whole creative cycle under control, from the content brief until everything is approved. And all of that can be done early in the project while the website is being developed independently. So once the site is developed and all of the content has been approved, we are ready to pull that content into the site. So let me go back to our content inventory. where we have some articles that are approved for import already. And now I'll show you how you can import them automatically into Kentico. So let me switch to Kentico to walk you through the process. We're now in Kentico, and this is a Kentico instance with our dancing outside that has been developed already outside. So now we go to Pages app to see where our article will be imported to. We'll import articles under our articles node. As you can see, there are no articles yet. To import them, we'll use Kentico Draft import module, which we have already installed with this Kentico instance. So let me now open the Kentico Draft import module. And as you can see, this is our whole content inventory which we have prepared in Kentico Draft. So first, we filter the inventory to get the articles that are approved for import. And now I'll select all of the articles and import them all at once as subpages. And now there are a few simple things I will configure to import all of the approved articles. First, let's select the location in Kentico page tree to where those articles should be imported. As we said before, we'll import them as the articles, as the child pages of the articles page. Now we can choose a culture in which the child pages will be created. We'll just go for English United States culture, as this is the default one for our project. And now let's pick a Kentico page type that matches the structure of the article in Kentico Draft. In our case, it's going to be the article page type as well. And finally, I will map draft's content elements to Kentico page type fields so that draft content type matches Kentico page type and all the articles are imported cleanly. Since we have given both content elements and page field similar names, it's easy to match one onto another. Once we are done with that, we can hit import to see what happens. So the import went smoothly. This is the thing that maybe usually would take 2 hours of manual labor, but let's do a quick check of what has actually been imported. I'll open the Pages application, and as you can see, all articles has been imported over there. Kentico Draft import module has automatically created a page for every single article. And we can take a look at the single article to see that everything is in there. So that was it for a quick introduction into a draft space, and now I will return it to Wojtek, who is going to wrap things up for you.
Thank you, Brian, for the demonstration. So guys, let me now wrap things up and then we can jump onto your questions. So with Kentico Draft, you are able to collect and produce content in the cloud right from the early stages of website projects. Everyone on your team can deliver content on time and in the structure that will be required by other publishing platforms later on. In terms of integration capabilities, as Brian just showed you, we are currently providing a custom module for Kentico, so you can import all the created content automatically. We are planning to provide REST API and integrations with other vendors in the near future. So with Kentico Draft, you are able to shorten your content production process, save money, and use your time to work on more projects. So that was it for today from our side, and now the stage is yours. I can see that we have just one question so far, so if you guys have any other questions, feel free to drop a line into the question window. So I will jump on the one question. So Branyo, Richard is asking, what are you guys at Kentico Draft working at the moment? So can you share some thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the question. Well, Currently, we are developing a new feature, which is called taxonomy, and well, it's meant for categorizing of the content. So you can tag and categorize your content appropriately, even in the stage of writing it. So you could have this information in Kentico later on once you import all the content. We know that this categorization is being used within our Kentico partners to select a different content on the different sites that need some form of categorization. So we are really looking forward into making this feature live in a couple of weeks. Other than that, we are still tweaking, improving Kentico Draft, a few smaller things here and there. And basically what we are trying to do, we are trying to, on a monthly basis, to provide still some new feature and grow the usability of Kentico Draft rapidly.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for the comprehensive response. And I can see that we have one more question. I was just thinking that this is the only one, but here we go. We have a great question from Brian, and Brian is interested if it's possible to transfer content from Kentico Draft to editable text fields that may exist in the destination page type, or he is concerned if if the target must be page type fields.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Right now, the Kentico Draft import module allows you to import content only to page type fields, but you can reach out to us via email or reach out to you to get more context of your scenario, so we could perhaps address this feature or this way of importing later at some later time as we get more of this feedback. So thanks.
Okay, thank you, Brian. So guys, do you have any other questions? I will wait just a few more seconds and we'll see. Go ahead. So yeah, another question. Thanks, Ed, for that. So Ed is interested if you can if the content can be exported to Word or PDF. So I guess that Ed mentions that from draft into Word or PDF. So Brian, is it possible?
Mm-hmm. Thank you for the question. I guess this is the situation which may happen with the clients that need to review content through a legal department, as we've heard this feedback before. So far, what you can do is that you can use export to PDF feature within your browser. I guess the latest Chrome has built-in support for it. You can just go to your file and read the content. We have adjusted styles, so it looks reasonably well on the paper. So feel free to try it, as you can do. We have a free 14-day trial, whether the output would work for you, and we'll be happy to act on your feedback later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And I can see that we have another question from Brian. So this time Brian is interested if there are any, if the Kentico Draft site and the target Kentico site separate IIS sites. So
okay, thank you. So yeah, maybe we haven't mentioned that earlier on, but Kentico Draft is a completely cloud-based service. So it's hosted in Azure, and well, you can then host your Kentico site whenever you are used to, that are loaded to Kentico from cloud site, and it has no effect on where the Kentico instance is located in that case. I just want to be sure if that answered your question, so feel free to leave a note if this is what you were asking about.
So Brian, does it answer your question? Yeah, I can see that. Okay, Brian is also interested if he can target an on-premise site, not in cloud.
Yes. So let me just try to explain it. You can have your Kentico site or Kentico installation on premise or in cloud. It doesn't matter. The only thing that is there that Kentico Draft, it's in the cloud, and you can load data from Kentico Draft, all your content that you have abroad, either from Kentico instance that is on premise or in cloud. So does that answer your question?
Okay, I'm glad that it does answer your question, Brian. And next question, again from Brian. Thank you, Brian, for that. How does the licensing work? So, Brian, can you show us how the pricing model works?
Yeah, sure. We can go ahead and take a look at our pricing page. So we have 3 plans. Our standard plan, which is meant for playing around, and then we have our standard plan, which is meant for production, and it costs 49 American dollars for 5 users per month. And this is just the only limitation, because with that price you can enjoy the unlimited content items, unlimited projects, and unlimited storage. And if you are dealing with a project that may have much more users that would need to produce content, you can contact us and we can figure out some custom plans for you. And the math is really easy. When you want 10 users per month, it's $98 and so on.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Hope it does work for you, Brian. So guys, I don't see any further questions, so go ahead if you have some. So if you have some questions, this is the last chance for you. Go ahead. Okay guys, so thank you all for attending the webinar today and for your wonderful inquiries. If you have some specific questions on how Kentico Draft can fit it to your content production process, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to schedule an additional call to talk about your content challenges. In few moments, we'll send you the URL to sign up for Kentico Draft trial. It's free and fully functional for 14 days. We encourage you to give it a try and give us a feedback. So thank you once again for a wonderful time, and bye. Have a beautiful day.